My name's Anthony Pasquarello. I topped Yu-Gi-Oh! Nationals in 2011 and 3 YCSs back-to-back in 2012. Although I stopped playing in 2013, I've rediscovered my passion for the game through older formats and love sharing ideas about how to play. This is Yu-Gi-Oh! Master. Okay, this isn't a masterclass, I just had to leave that intro in because I cannot believe that after 10 some odd years that I would actually be at YCS Philly playing in a Konami-sanctioned side event for my favorite format of all time, that is Edison. One of the craziest weeks of my life. And it started on my birthday, Wednesday, May 24th. Had a really nice day. Friday, after years of grinding and never thinking I'd be able to do it, on my last attempt before the season ended, I hit Legend Rank in Pokemon Go, and I was absolutely ecstatic. Even though I'm focusing more on Yu-Gi-Oh! Than I am Pokemon right now, I said, you know what, the Catch Cup is here for the final week of the season. Let me re-download the game, give it one last chance because I invested some time into it during the season. Let me give it one last hurrah before I put the game down for good. And I went 17-4, 15-15, and then on Friday I went 18-2, and I hit Legend. And the feeling from that was unbelievable. I said, no matter what happens in Philly, even though I really, really want to win one of those Light and Darkness Dragon play mats, and that's going to be my trophy if I do, I can't come home upset because I did something that's been haunting me for years, and that is such a win for me. So already going to the event in such a good mood. So Friday we get to Philly, Saturday we go to the convention center, and I seriously cannot believe the amount of duelists that were there from back in the day. It was a crazy reunion, so many hugs, just laughs and reminiscing. I'm in love with the game, I love playing, and I'm super competitive, but the friendships and all the amazing moments that have come out of meeting different people along the way, you can't beat that. Those are some of the best times of my life, and the fact that I got to spend time with so many people from back then, like 10, 12 years later, it was just unreal. It was just so good already. I was already having such a good time. And then I see Beast Mode. If you guys don't know who Beast Mode is, he's one of the best Edison players there is. He has a YouTube channel. Please sub to him. Him and I go way back. We're on the same team for War League. He's a good friend of mine. Seeing him was so good. I really thought that him and I were just going to enter a bunch of side events and clean house and get a bunch of mats. And I honestly thought we were going to be able to enter like 10 each and just hopefully at least win one each. I wasn't worried about him. I was more so worried about making sure I get one for myself. Problem was, they didn't start the side events until 1 o'clock. They were only running them from 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock. There was one person taking signups for the Time Wizard Edison side events, and the line was so long. I thought to myself, this is going to be problematic. I don't know how many we're going to get to enter. We're standing in line next to each other. We end up in the same pod, play each other round 1. So not ideal. He wins game 1. I win game 2 with Deck Devi on his first turn, and then game 3 I hit him with a couple Deck Devis, and that zombie deck has a hard time once. Deck Devi's just one of the craziest cards in Edison format, right? You get all the knowledge, you hit all the small monsters. He was playing zombies, so Deck Devi was the MVP of that match. I ended up winning. I don't think there's anything he could have done differently. We all know how great of a player he is, and I was just happy to be able to play against him and to have seen him after all these years. He just makes me... Everyone knows how good he is as a player, but I don't think a lot of you guys know how funny he is and how I just watch him play and his mannerisms and like how I find him brilliant, but I just find him so funny because I don't know, he's just the man. All my opponents were super nice, by the way, and round 2 is no exception. I play a Blackwing player who beats me game 1. It was a pretty close game. Game 2 was kind of a blowout in my favor, and then Game 3 was kind of grindy. It was kind of nerve-wracking, but I end up getting the win. And then I go to the finals, and I have to play against a new friend that I made in Long Island, who I played in round 6 of the Starlight Rare Black Rose Dragon tournament, who beat me, who's playing Christia Sworn, Fairy Light Sworn deck. that I am pretty afraid of and have a pretty bad matchup against. Obviously, if they mill well, they will probably win. If they don't, they'll probably lose. But I don't like playing against those high risk, high reward decks because I don't want to roll the dice. That's why I don't play a deck like that. I play the deck that I think is extremely consistent. My friend Randall, one of my best friends and test partners from way, way back in the day, has said, when you're not sure what to play, pick what's most consistent because that's what's going to give you the best chance. So I play a deck that I really think is good and consistent, not a high-risk, high-reward deck. So whenever I play against a deck like that, I get pretty nervous thinking that I just may get blown out very quickly. So game one, I want my revenge. So I want this mat. I want this game. And before I say anything else, I want to give him a shout out because even though the deck is high risk, high reward, you still have to play it well. Doesn't mean you could just mill the right cards and do Judgment Dragon Christie all the time. There's definitely a skill factor in that deck, and I think he's a really good player, and that made it even more nerve-wracking for me because I'm playing someone who's very capable of beating me and has beaten me already. So game one, he Gold Sarks for Christia. The game is progressing. He's not milling too much. I tribute a monster for Ryza, put his set monster back on top of his deck. I don't attack because I know if he drops scores in the token, he can tribute it for Christia and the game will be over, basically. So I don't attack. That's 2,400 damage I leave. He draws. He sets a monster. I draw, Treeborn, Tribute, Caius, remove, don't attack again, same scenario, I can't deal with Christia. 7,200 damage I leave on the table, and I'm completely okay with that because I am extremely strict on myself when it comes to attacking into Gores. I never, ever want to attack into Gores if I don't have a way to deal with it. I'm not just going to shrug my shoulders and say, well, he had it, what are you going to do? Like, if you could prevent... Unless you're really on the clock and you have to start putting some damage through, I don't think it's worth it. Even in that scenario, even in crunch time, he didn't have the Gores, but I still don't regret the way that I played because I would have felt way worse if he did have Gores and he did win with the Christia, and I told myself all this time that I need to not do it, and then I make that mistake out of whatever you would call it. So, game gets down to the wire. We're both in the nitty-gritty, couple cards left. He has 2 fairies in his graveyard, and he plays Charge of the Light Brigade. He mills Fairy, Fairy, Fairy to put him at 5 fairies. Can't drop the Christia. A turn or 2 later, I win. I'm up game 1. Huge to be up game 1 against that deck. Game 2, he has a slow start. Ends up getting a few Lightsworns in the grave, enough to drop Judgment Dragon very early on by turn like 5 or 6. He does. Puts me to 5,000. Next turn puts me to 2,000. I draw. I make a canister. I hit it. I set deck heavy. He draws. I flip it. I hit his Raikou. That was set. I hit Honest out of his hand that he drew for turn. He has Cyber Dragon, Celestia, Lila. He attacks my flip-flop frog that I had on the field. I put his Lila back. So he has a Cyber Dragon. And I draw. It's either a Caius or a Diva, but I drew something good enough to get the Cyber Dragon off the field, and now I know he just has Lila Celestia, hoping he doesn't draw Recharge and gambles and maybe gets another Judgment Dragon, but he draws another Honest, goes to the graveyard, he summons the Lila. I know his life points are low, I have complete control of the game, but I could put it away right now if I draw a Ryza, and I put it on the field and we shake hands and I win the mat, and I'm just so ecstatic. Just everything is going right. All the small things in the match with the milling, all the grand scheme of things of hitting legend, winning the mat. I'm just like completely on top of the world. I'm having the best weekend, and somehow it gets even better. I go up to beast mode. He's in the finals. He wins a mat. I meet our teammate Masha. Shout out to Masha. She wins a mat. She ends up winning 2 mats, so she's crushing it too. So Sunday rolls around. I think to myself, I should probably enter, a couple more side events I came to play. So I enter the first pot of the day. My first match is against a kid that didn't recognize me, but I remember him from way back in the day, and he said it was his first event back in a long time. He was playing Black Wings. He was putting a lot of cards on the table and putting a lot of damage out quickly, and it was nerve-wracking, but I kept my pace, and with Dupe Frog and Substitute and not being able to take damage, I held him off, won game 1, ended up winning game 2. Round 2, I'm up game 1 against Value Turbo, and my friend, who's in the same pot as I was, who was already in the finals waiting for our match to be over, says, the winner of you guys and myself are going to get a feature match for the finals. And I think to myself, there's no possible way that we're going to get a side event Edison feature match right now. Like, I can't lose this match. I have to be part of that. They've never done that before, at least in the US. Like, the pressure just completely intensifies for me, and I say I have to win this match. I lose game 2 off a top deck burial. Very nice opponent, by the way. All my opponents were super nice, and this game was grindy. And I thought I was going to win in 2, but he top decks a burial and puts his everything back, basically. And I scoop it up instantly. Game 3, very close game. Super grindy. Comes down to the very end, and I end up pulling it out and winning. And I am just cannot believe it. I can't believe I'm going to be part of this feature match right now with Michael Kohanim, who's been writing for them in Metagame back in the day. It's just, what is happening? Like, it's going through my head, like, why me? Are all of these things happening to me? Like, yes, you work hard, the practice pays off. I think practice is the best teacher, but like, for the Pokemon Go stuff to happen, like to win the mat on Saturday, to be having such a good time with all my friends. Like, shout out to everyone, Nathan, Albert, Tyler, that I went with in the car. Like, I'm just having like the time of my life. And for all these major events that have had Time Wizard, Edison side events, why is it the one that I'm at in Philly that they're going to do the first feature match for it ever? Why is it that event? Why is it the pod that I'm in and the one that I make it to finals in? Granted, I only entered 2 and I made it to the finals in both of them, but why is everything... It could have been any YCS. It could have been any side event. It could have been any pod. But it's happening to me, and I want to make the most out of this. I'm having the absolute time of my life right now. This is crazy. But we got a job to do now if we're in the finals. There's absolutely no way that I'm making these finals right now in this feature match and I'm not winning. I have to. So, here it is. I'm not going to read it all to you guys, but I will give you the long and short of it. And shout out to Tyler for being in the finals after having just came back to Edison format pretty recently. Cannot believe it was both of us. There were a couple times where even Michael, the writer, had to look at what my card was, which I found very funny. When I put Flip Flop Frog on the field, he had to say, like, oh, what is that? Or Mermaid Archer. Like, frogs are the shit. All the frog cards. Rognak is the man for building the Diva Frog deck that I'm going to get to in a second. And this is a classic, typed out feature match. Look at this. I win game 1. I lose game 2. Game 1, he didn't really have many monsters, which was really nice for me. Game 2, I had a million monsters. I felt like I was in control of game 1 for the most part, and it was a pretty solid win. Game 2, I opened like Swap Frog, Substitoad, Diva, Salvage, and I think another Swap Frog and Unifrog. I was just like, he did the value special with Greffer and Armed Wing by his second turn and smacked me for 4,000. I'm pretty sure he had deck dev. It was just like not gonna happen that game. So game 3, I'm just gonna scroll through. But I feel like I drew extremely well, and I more agreed. I'm pretty sure one thing that is incorrect here, not trying to call out and say there were mistakes. I don't think there are that many mistakes here. I think there's like 1 or 2 typos, but I think there's one part in Game 3 where he says I salvage back Treeborn and Substitoad, and then I moray them back, but I think I held on to the Substitoad and I morayed back the Treeborn and the Swap Frog, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't remember, so maybe he was right. Regardless, I say to myself, man, Heavy Storm would be a good card to draw right now. And I draw off the Moray, I think it was Raigeki Break and Deep Sea Diva, then Heavy Storm right on time, and I play it, and it just, everything went right, and it comes down to him. He milled some cards off a Raikou, I believe, or off Charge. He hit a Plague. He had 4 Darks in his graveyard. He stacked for Plague and went to Special Summon it, and I chained DD Crow on one of the values to put him at 2 because he kind of telegraphed the Dark Arm in my head. And if he had 3 Darks in his graveyard because he didn't mill the extra one, he could have just dropped Dark Arm. The whole game would have went differently. Every possible thing went right, from small to large, and the fact that he hit the amount that he did, like, the stars just aligned for your boy this week. Every possible thing that could have went right seemed like it went right, and a couple turns later I end up putting enough pressure on, forcing a Torrential, pitching a Substitute to Special Summon Swap Frog. I had him at 900 anyway. I was holding a Caius. I was just trying to clear every back row so I could tribute Treeborn Frog for Caius, but I attack with Swap Frog. He says you got it and extends the handshake, and I end up winning the first ever Time Wizard Edison side event feature match in the US, and I could cry, honestly, and I have a little bit, because I feel so lucky and grateful and just glad to be a part of it, honestly. I've said many times throughout the past few years, and I stand by it, that if I were to die right now, I could not be upset, because I've had such a beautiful life with so much good in it, and surrounded by so much love and so many good people, and just so much opportunity, and just such a beautiful life. And the fact that not only do I get to enjoy my freedoms and my hobbies, but that should be enough, honestly. But the fact that stuff like this happens, and it just sends it so far over the top when it doesn't happen for so many other people, and the fact that it happens to me, it's humbling, and I'm beyond words and beyond grateful for it. And I can't believe I get to live the life that I live, and I'm so lucky and so happy and so grateful. So I go up and I get the second Light and Darkness Dragon playmat, and I go back up and they give me an interview that is here, and there I am with my mat. And on my Instagram and in Facebook and stuff, I posted other pictures of me holding up both mats, and it was just, I never thought that after all these years to have a feature match from YCS Atlanta in 2012, or a mini feature in 2012 in Chicago, like, to come back 11 years later and still, I don't know why me, but very fortunate, extremely fortunate. So here it is, if you guys want to read either of them. The feature match or the interview is on here, and I'm gonna cut to the deck. Here it is, the same really big charity event Rognak build, except I changed the side deck up a little bit. I took out 2 Cyber Dragons for 2 Sirokkos because I thought Black Wings and Vayu were going to be everywhere, and they were. And I took out a 3rd DD Crow to put in Soul Exchange, because Fossil Dynas and Vanity's Fiends in the mirror match specifically are pretty hard. Soul Exchange is really, really good. Yeah, so I'm going to wrap it up now. I have a video of the paper deck that I used that I'm going to end the video with, and I just want to shout out everyone that was at the event. The list goes on. It was so good seeing everyone. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all the support and all the kind words that I get from all my viewers and all my friends and stuff. So thank you very much, guys, and I will see you in the next one.